Hey, welcome to Common Sense Cafe, the critically acclaimed #1 most watched YouTube channel of all time.
Woo, salute.
That's a rumor.
Yeah.
You know, I thought about opening
That's what
like
I
that.
heard as soon as you said it.
Or here's another way I thought about opening.
Okay.
Welcome to Common Sense Cafe, where the coffee is always hot and the advice is lukewarm at best.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
I think it's accurate anyway, whether it's...
maybe.
All right, so we're with you today, and we're going to
I've been living my life by our advice.
be... Is it a lukewarm life? Because that would or is it cold?
For quite a few months, it's been lukewarm.
So I don't know. Yeah. All right. Well, one thing in this particular episode, I got to throw out a disclaimer. Okay, so I want to give you a disclaimer that that we've heard from our parents, and they probably heard from their parents, and my kids have heard from me, and that's that at some point in this video, you're going to hear something from me as advice, and you're going to say, well, I've seen you do it different. So this is a do as I say, not as I do program today. So if you do run across some things and you say, you've not always followed that, you're right, but that's why I've learned some of this. So we're going to talk about criticism, how to handle criticism, especially with so much social media today and the event that we're able to express ourselves to a larger group with the greatest of ease, often emotionally instead of intellectually. We see a lot of criticism that kind of comes out, and the rhetoric is just, and sometimes it just really gets...
It's rough.
Yeah, it gets bad.
But
so,
you know, they do have the emojis, though. I like those because you can give them a one thumbs up or finger up here or there or
another place.
Anything in between.
and you know, the emojis it's kind of like that, you know, the punctuation on it, you know, and when you see the emoji, you read it with a different intensity, with a different... You know, if you see the emoji that's got a thumbs up, you read it kind of with a smile.
Lighthearted.
If there's no emoji behind it and there's a couple of capital letters, you know they're screaming at you. So you just understand that expression. A couple of things I thought we'd do to open with. So criticism also often comes in the form of name calling, right? Yeah. People call you names and so forth. So I looked at name calling in the news is what I did today. I looked at name calling in the news.
Really? You just Googled that?
I Googled it.
You can Google anything.
You could have made me sound a little bit smarter.
Oh, hey,
you researched that.
You
right.
researched it. That's
okay,
right.
so
I didn't think
that's what we call Googling in the profession that we're in. And what is this?
Okay.
This is
take two.
Yeah, right. I've done some research today. So, name calling in the news. Here's what I found. I found that John Kelly. This is back from NBC News, May the 1st. John Kelly, a Trump cabinet member, I believe it was. I think he was a cabinet member. Called President Trump an idiot. Called him an idiot.
Called his boss an idiot.
Yeah. I don't think Kelly's there anymore, but I don't know. But anyway, Rex Tillerson, who is, of course, also worked in the Trump administration, called President Trump a moron. Now, these guys didn't necessarily come out and say, yeah, that's what I said, but the rumor is that this is what they call him. Now, McMasterson said that he has the intelligence of a kindergartner. So I thought,
pretty smart kindergartners over my lifetime.
Yeah. But then I found, you got to play both sides of the card.
Yeah.
So Trump's come up with some nicknames that he uses regularly. He used Lion Ted, talking about Ted Cruz.
Lion Ted.
Sloppy Steve, talking about Steve. Is it Brannon? Steve Brannon.
Brandon? Did he call Steve Brannon
Sloppy Steve? That's his new name. Sloppy Steve Brannon.
They were on the site. Well,
right, yeah. Little Morocco, talking about Rubio, Marco Rubio.
Okay.
He called him Little Morocco Rubio. Uh, Low energy Jeb. I don't think we have to, we don't have to talk about who he's talking about. So here's the thing, though. People associate this administration with name calling, right? It's a big thing. Before this, we never. 2012, Mitt Romney going against the seated President Barack Obama, and Barack Obama said that Mitt Romney was Robin Hood in reverse. It was Romney Hood. So Mitt Romney goes on and he gives this commercial back, and he says, "Well, I think what our president said is baloney." Come on, Obama baloney. Obama-loney. So anyway, now let's go back a little bit further. So I don't know if you're a history buff, but I love history, and I've known this, but I again done some research. I Googled it, and we look back and we always think that that there was this great dignity that flowed through the ranks of the early presidencies and their campaigns and everything. But here's what John Adams said about Thomas Jefferson. He said, "If Thomas Jefferson becomes our president, we would see our wives and daughters the victims of legal prostitution." Now that's pretty.
Now, that if he becomes president,
We'll see our wives and daughters the victims of legal prostitution.
oh my Lord!
Right, and this is strong language for.
Especially back then.
Yeah. A Connecticut newspaper warned that the election of Jefferson would create a nation where murder, robbery, rape, adultery, and incest will openly be taught and practiced.
They didn't think very much of each other.
It was bad. So initially, it still happens today. When a seated president goes out and the other one is coming in, he's going to be inaugurated. The seated president goes to the inauguration, right?
Yeah.
When Jefferson was being inaugurated, Adams was loading a wagon out of the White House and headed out the other end of town. Didn't go to the inauguration. So
Bad blood. Huh?
That's right. And so we see that this is not a new thing.
Yeah.
However, with the social media, it has certainly become a more publicized, notable, easier to access thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't go to the printing press. You don't have to wait till Thursday for the paper to come out. It's instantaneous. Also, we see, I think some of the criticism, like I said, is a great deal of emotion and a little bit less intellectually thought through.
Right.
So let's talk about criticism. There's really two types of criticism, if we want to boil it down to. Criticism about true behavior and criticism about supposed behavior. Okay. Now, I've experienced both. You?
Yeah.
Both? Okay. So, criticism about...
I've experienced criticism about your truth behavior.
Right.
And they wrapped me in
Yeah, and Lord knows you didn't have anything to do with it. Criticism about behavior that is truthful. We experienced that when we were young.
Yeah.
Our reputation in some cities, I don't know if there's still a permanent ban on us going to the Riverside High School property or not, but
Yeah, I bet it is.
so we went to school in Avon, Mississippi, which is, what do you think, 12 miles outside of Greenville?
Yeah, probably.
Probably about 12 miles outside of Greenville, Mississippi. And so he's the older brother in the role of protector, so my biology teacher kicked me out of her class, got called to the principal's office, said, "You're no longer taking enough credits to go to school here. We're having General Assembly." I go in and I tell you, and you come out, and we're standing on the porch of the assembly hall, and I said, "Man, they kicked me out of school." And you said, "They can't do that." Well, they did. So then our cousins come out, Bevan and Carmen, and I think maybe Greg was there too, and we're talking about it, and you're like, "They can't kick you out of school." So then the principal starts walking up. And when he starts walking up, you kind of lost things.
Wasn't my finest moment.
So you go after the principal to have a discussion with him.
I think that's what I
you were,
intended
yes,
to do.
I agree.
Yeah, have a
I think you
discussion.
just wanted to talk. And the words out of the principal's mouth is, the police are already on their way. And so Deputy Sheriff shows up, and you and I are escorted. Well, we came to an agreement. We thought
That's
it
right.
best, and they thought it best that me and you not come back that year.
Yeah, that was
It
we
calmed
were through with that year.
We had learned all we could learn. So they escort us off, and they tell us that we can't come back, and so we don't. But the thing of was that before we could drive that 12 miles home, a parent in Greenville, several, had already heard about the incident and already left messages on their voicemail for their children when they got home. You're not hanging out with those kids anymore. They're hoodlums. Now, truth of the matter was, we probably weren't the best people to hang out with.
I wouldn't have taken that as false criticism.
No, not at all. So
Well, not hoodlum, but just maybe they might have thought we're bad influence. Even though things just kind of happened.
yeah, they happened to us. We
To
didn't
us.
cause them.
That's right. We're a victim.
So anyway, that was criticism, and we really owned it. We didn't deny it then. Really, we kind of owned it.
Yeah.
And I don't think we wore it as a badge or anything,
No,
but we didn't retaliate against it. And really, it didn't hurt us that much because the good girls like a bad guy. And so anyway, but there have been times, even recently, that we have both been under attack. Let's rephrase that. We have been criticized. Under attack's a strong word.
Yeah, just criticize.
Criticized. We've been criticized for things that we really had no part in, that we really didn't do. We were criticized openly for things that were not true about us.
Yeah.
What is our best? What's the best way to deal with that? Whether it be via Facebook or texting or rumor in town or whatever. What do you think? Where do we start?
Well, I think most criticism today, open criticism, comes across the media,
Social media.
Facebook, something like that. You get into a discussion and people no longer can take an opposite view and just have a discussion. Instead, they want to call you names and
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Yeah, if you are a conservative and you have a conservative view of immigration, you're called a racist, or they say you're a xenophobic, and so I've done some research. The word phobia means an irrational fear or hatred for people or for something, and to say that you're a xenophobic is supposed to mean that you have an irrational fear of foreigners. But when you go and you talk to people, their understanding of that word is different, and so they call you that, saying, "I'm criticizing your policy." Well, really, what you're doing is saying I'm an irrational person, and that my view of this is irrational. And sometimes I think we get into that criticism that we throw out these words and we don't even realize what they mean, and we're throwing those out as criticism instead of having dialogue.
Yeah.
And dialogue is the most important thing. So the number one thing that I think you and I probably would agree on, that criticism comes often on the foothills of people who don't really want to have dialogue.
Yeah, right.
And that's where it stems.
Yeah, they want a one-sided conversation and they want to shut your side down in a hurry.
Right.
Or maybe they just, they really don't have enough information to argue their point. So they just want to shut your side down.
And they revert to
Yeah.
criticism to do that, name calling.
I
in
have
particular.
a Facebook friend, a young man that, good Christian guy. And I saw the other day where he had posted something, I think it was something that, you share from somebody else, and it was about Muslims being in the country and stuff like that. And instead, the couple of people that addressed him on it right away was they were they didn't address the subject of having Muslims in our country or anything to do with that. They attacked his Christianity immediately.
Yeah. Well, I think I've told you this before. Illegal defense, you come in, and if you can't fight the facts, then you criticize the character.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that's just a very common play in the legal system. But one thing that we have to understand is that in that scenario, in those type of scenarios, people are either dealing with lack of information, or there's some hostility, background hostility, or they are hostile toward that person's particular stance, whether it be Christian or conservative or liberal or whatever. They're hostile toward that particular stance. So the first thing we'd like to do is recognize that criticism comes from a lack of dialogue. You cannot fight criticism with dialogue, though.
No, you can't.
Right. Because it just doesn't.
You can address facts and issues, but you can't address criticism.
So I think we would probably come to if we were going to give common sense advice, silence is golden.
That's right.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Criticism doesn't change my salary. It doesn't change how fast my hair grows back. It doesn't really impact my life whatsoever. And so the best thing for me to do is to be silent.
For the record, my hair comes down to here.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it on the video. My hair's just blonde, people. It's real blonde, so it looks like my scalp, but
Yeah.
it's really.
Yeah, there's hair all the way
I can
down.
feel hair right here.
He
so-
brushes it out of his eyes all the time.
That's right. I have to shake it.
We edit those moments out. My wife told me the other day, she said, it looks like you don't have any hair on that
I
video.
know,
But
it does. No, something wrong with our video.
something wrong. We gotta get a better. We gotta get a better editor or something. So
You're right. You can't. There's no argument to that. I noticed the subject when that. I was just looking at that conversation, and when the subject, when that first post on there said attacked his Christianity, the whole topic changed. There was nothing really going forward about the original topic. It all had to be about, well, you're this kind of Christian, I'm that kind of Christian, and back and forth.
right, and so then the original dialogue is lost.
It's lost.
Yeah, and I think a great example of that is in the political arena in Congress and so forth.
Now and we're talking about people that don't know each other.
Right.
Really, right
Yeah.
now. We'll get into some other things.
Criticism is the expression of disapproval of someone or something based on perceived faults or mistakes. So
I don't know that it's even perceived always. Sometimes it's just, I don't agree with your viewpoint, so I'm going to attack you somewhere else.
you think it's just
I
reactionary?
think it's just outright
Reactionary.
hatred.
Right.
They don't have a leg to stand on, so they're going to attack you. They don't know you.
Right. And again, in that scenario, the best thing is silence. There's no.
Now, the criticism that, what'd you say, expression of
Expression of
Disapproval of
disapproval of someone
someone
or something based on perceived.
faults or mistakes.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's coming from somebody that knows you. And maybe their criticism is even thought to be constructive criticism, which it isn't. But the other people, people that don't know you, it's really not even criticism. It's just a hatred and attack against you.
Yeah, it's reactionary.
A response, yeah.
So with those people, again, you're not going to defeat criticism with dialogue in a scenario like that. The best escape is silence. We're not saying that you need to be a wimp and not defend yourself or your policies. We're just saying that there are some forms of criticism that don't deserve, don't warrant, and are not profitable to respond to.
That's right.
Just
That's
leave it
right.
alone. I think it's just a good analogy. I was talking to this lady the other day, and she was telling me that she's a city girl, and her husband they moved to the farm and they had pigs and everything. And her husband for the first time asked her to come out and help with the hogs, and they went out there, and she'd never been out there with him before, and she was trying to do her best, and all of a sudden he was using some very colorful language and a lot of criticism, and she said, I just turned and went to the house. And he said, she thought, well, he's criticizing me and using all this language toward me. So my best response, I won't say anything, I'll just go home. And he hollered over and asked her, where are you going? I'm talking to the hogs. So criticism is not always even,
Directed at you.
But her response to that was golden. She said, I'm not going to retaliate. I'm going to just get out of the
Go
scenario.
home.
I'm going to be silent. So that's our first advice, our first common sense approach to look at it is keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Now, if they say, you're wrong, blah blah blah. Here's what I believe. Well, that's not criticism. That's
No,
just
that's dialogue.
dialogue.
That's
You're
right.
wrong.
And that's when we should
I have
engage.
a different point of view, and then you can have a discussion.
Right. Right. But if you get into
Name calling is
there's no
good
there's no profit to that. It's
No.
not profitable at all. Second is we do sometimes receive criticism from people who do know us.
Yeah.
People who know us well, and people who have based our action at that moment on maybe some historical information or experience they have with us or with other people. Here's the thing: you have to understand that person's criticism is coming from their perspective, and their perspective has been shaped by their experience. And so as they look at us, they're looking at us through their experience. And
Not
if we're
necessarily their experience with us.
no, just their life experience. And if we are not completely informed about their life experience, especially the life experience that they're experiencing right now, we may take that criticism extremely personal and become very hurt and angry and want to lash out. So what do we do in those times when criticism comes from someone we know, someone who has criticized maybe our belief system, or criticized an action that we've done, or criticized our way of life, or an interaction we have with them? How do we handle that criticism?
It's tough. What do you think?
Well, certainly, still taking a step back is, but I think we have to ask questions. I think the very first thing that we have to do when we're receiving that criticism, I think we have to get into a dialogue that's questionary. Why do you feel that way about me? Why do you think I meant to hurt you? Why do you think I hate people of this gender or this race or this ethnicity or this sexual preference? Why do you think that?
Right.
What have I done to make you think that? So I think we get into that question thing. The key is using non-threatening language to try to engage that individual.
That's good. It kind of goes back to something you've said over and over and over through the years, is the problem is never the problem.
Right.
It always is something else. And
Something underlying.
maybe something that they thought you meant when you posted something, that they thought they were directing it at them, or if you said something or didn't shake their hand when you saw them, or you saw them in the convenience store and you had a frown on your face. Well, you may have been 1,000 miles away from there, but all of a sudden, they saw you in that light.
That's a very, very good point. So I was pastoring a church in rural Iowa. Wonderful people, man. I still have a lot of contact with these people, and I love them dearly. But this one family, I love to joke, but there comes a time in my preparation for service that you kind of get into a different zone. I don't even remember it happening, but this one family literally left our church because they said they told me a joke and I got upset about it. And I'm like the last person to get upset about a joke. I love a good joke. But it was exactly what you said. They thought I meant one thing, or they thought I'd responded a certain way, but what they didn't realize was, here's where I'm at. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for service. So,
yeah. In business, they teach you, in management, they teach you to, the phrase is to ask why 7 times before you get to the answer. You have to ask why 7 times.
7 different ways.
7 different ways. Say, why do you feel this way? And they say something and say, well, why did, well, you did this. Well, why do you see that that was not good? Or
why do you think I did that? Why did that particular thing bother you to that degree? Why did it make you so angry? That's good. And I agree. I think that number one is there's certain criticism you just need to be silent to.
Yeah.
Number 2, if you're trying to resolve that criticism, you have to begin the dialogue with non-threatening, questionary.
Right,
type.
non-threatening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in business, and I answer this question quite often. If I'm interviewing or something, they want to know, well, what's your management style? And I try to never back people into a corner. I always address the problem or the issue about the facts, not make it personal.
Right.
Here's the issue where we disagree on this particular, let's just say it's a loan that they want to approve and I don't. We address the issue and the facts around that loan. We don't address, well, you made a stupid decision.
Right.
It has no
Right.
bearing on your personal opinion or my personal opinion.
Right.
Here's the facts.
Yeah, taking ownership of that and making it personal, making it that what you perceive to be criticism personal is it's dangerous. Isn't it?
It is, and always leaving the person with their respect and dignity. That I'm leaving the room. We've disagreed, and even if I won the disagreement where we finally decide we're going to do it my way, I still leave the room with. I enjoy working with you. You always think things through, and even if I don't disagree with you, you bring up some good issues.
Right.
You make me think.
Yeah, you've said that over and over about let the person leave the confrontation, the argument, the meeting, the whatever with their dignity, and that's an excellent point, especially when it comes to criticism, because. When we engage with other people that have different values, different ideas, and different opinions than us, often it comes out like there's no win-win. Somebody's going to have to lose in this. If that is the case, if it is a definite win-lose situation, we can do that where we both walk away still feeling good about who we are,
Right.
and not attacking our dignity, other person's dignity. So. Some of it just needs to be evaluated and say, I don't need to respond to that. Just be silent. The second thing would be non-threatening, questioning, trying to find out what life experience or what experience are they going through right now, or what have they been told that would cause them to be where they're at in that criticism today.
Right.
So that's two good pieces of advice there. What else? What you got?
I know we're running about the time. We wanted to kind of stop in 15, 20 minutes, but this is such a important, not only an important topic, but it's a topic that's out there every day.
Absolutely, it's relevant for today.
Particularly online. I mean, it's out there. So what if they'll bear with us, let's keep going. And if we have to, I'll edit it into two
Okay.
different episodes
Okay,
if they don't mind, because this is important, and there's some questions I still want to ask you
okay.
as we go along, so.
All right, so we've kind of talked about two levels of criticism. What would be the next level that you think we could get into that would affect us?
Well, one thing is, let's say that